Hi, welcome to this episode of Author Eke. I'm Travis Davis, your host. Tell us your story. Hey everybody, this is Travis from Author Eke, and today I have Dianne, and she's going to tell you a little bit, maybe a lot, about herself and her book or books, and just kind of get to know her and her writing style and what she likes to do, and talk about her book. So, Dianne, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I am Dianne C. Braley. That's where you can find me everywhere. That's what I go by. First of all, thank you for having me, Travis. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
And
Thank you.
what you're doing is really cool because I think, so many of us, my book, The Silence and the Sound, it's a women's fiction coming of age novel. Is my first novel, and I wish that I had more podcasts. There's a good amount, but there's not enough. I wish that I had more podcasts to listen to about first time authors and the mistakes you make and all kinds of things of what to do, what not to do. I think a lot of us end up teaching ourselves along the way with all kinds of errors and failures and successes. And there's a lot of work, I think, and I'm sure you can attest to this, that you put in that, wow, I really probably, even though it takes an incredible amount of work to write a book, just getting it out there and then the marketing and all of this and getting it published is just, it's so difficult. But then I think, when you don't know things, it makes it 50 times more difficult.
Yeah. I would agree. I tell people that the easy part was writing the book. I mean, to me, the marketing and just getting it out there is because there's just so much out there right now. Getting it out there seems tough to me. So what do you find is the best approach to marketing? What have you found the most success?
I'm an animal. I'm a very disciplined person. And to a fault, I'm exhausted really, but I market. It's almost like I throw, something at the wall just to see if it sticks. And I do a ton of marketing. I do Facebook ads, which I'm not, the thing about marketing though, is you have to really be good with like kind of graphs and numbers too, because you can't really tell exactly what's working.
Yes.
It's hard to keep track of. So if I have Amazon ads running and Facebook ads running, actually Amazon, you can see from what you spent to the sales. So how many clicks. But Facebook ads, it'll just tell you how many clicks to the link, but that doesn't mean they bought it.
Yeah, to get to that point. So I started my own company a few years ago, and that's why I ran some Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads and some other things, Twitter and everything. What I found out that some people just like to click on stuff. The people that just like that, they don't understand that that's actually costing you money every time they just click on it because they're click happy.
I really thought I've had so many link clicks, like it's just unreal. And the problem is, and I think a lot of authors have said this, is I think you'll get a lot of people that'll put it in their shopping cart, but how do you get them to pull the plug to buy the book?
Right.
Wonderfully and sadly, I have found the best approach is to connect with people directly. So just putting a post somewhere, no one cares. Messaging people directly, book clubs, things like that, which is so tedious. And especially, I'm a nurse. I also work as a nurse, and to connect with everyone I would love to connect with individually, it takes so much time. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on all of it. And
so if Dianne has to run out real quick, she'll be right back. She just has to attend to a patient. So if she runs out real quick.
Actually, I gave up. I burned out from patient care quite a while ago, but I do more of an administrative stuff now. But I'm still working. I'm still a nurse, and I still, I love people in this kind of genre now, and I wish I could connect with them more. Who has the time to individually connect with every single person that you love to?
Right. That's tough.
It's really tough.
So you do Facebook and everything. So tell us about your book. I am curious because I had some other female authors on, and each one was different from a from a perspective of writing or their book. So I'd love to hear about your book. And I know
Well, I
everybody
should
else would
hope
too.
so. We're not all the same.
Oh, I know. Isn't that terrible when everybody when you're stereotyped?
So my book is it's a coming of age story, upmarket women's fiction actually, and it's about a young nurse. It's inspired by actual events. It's about a young nurse who leaves her life and her family's dysfunction on the mainland behind and heads to Martha's Vineyard Island. But sometimes the past isn't so easy to escape.
It's a small world.
What?
It's a small world.
Oh, really?
It's a small
Why?
world. Oh,
Why?
I run into my neighbors at the airport in Chicago. I run into people all the time. And so it's just, look around. Oh, I know that person. So it's crazy.
So I had the honor. The book is, it's funny because the book, when I wrote it, I had the story in my head for a very long time. And when I started writing, I didn't realize what the book was going to become. And the book actually became, and actually a reader told me this after, a beta reader, one of the initial readers of the book, kind of surmised the book for me. And it's funny because I was looking for an elevator pitch and I couldn't quite grasp, it's an elevator pitch is one of the hardest things because you have to just tell about your book in one sentence, as I'm sure you know.
Yes.
And a beta reader has said to me, your book is really about, the premise of your book is really about the devastating effects of growing up in addiction. And I was like, boom, that's it. It really is. Even though that wasn't my intention when I set out to write it, I grew up in an alcoholic home, and I don't like, I always say, I say this now, I don't wear this as a badge of honor, but
Right.
I ended up writing about Georgette, my protagonist. She has a relationship with her father, who is an alcoholic. And when I started writing, I really just meant to touch on that, but I could really just tap into my feelings of growing up with my father, who suffered from alcoholism. And I just kind of, all of my, being a young adult and a child, just my anger and my toughness and all this stuff just came out through the page, and I just kind of went with it. So it ended up being a book about really the premise of growing up in addiction and the choices, the cause and effect, and the choices you kind of make in life because of that. But it also is a beautiful setting. It has some celebrity friendship, and I also features a relationship between a young nurse and a patient who is a famous Pulitzer Prize winning author, which I had the honor of living on Martha's Vineyard and caring for Pulitzer Prize winner William Styron, who arguably is best known for his book Sophie's Choice, among many, many others, who actually became my motivator in writing. It was always my dream. I wrote as a kid, but growing up blue collar and how I did in kind of a tough town outside of Boston, I followed kind of in my blue collar roots and my mom, and became a nurse, just like her. And I'm very proud to be a nurse, and nursing actually led me back to my real passion.
Oh, cool.
Interestingly enough. So it's really inspired by a lot of actual events. It is fiction, but it's inspired, and it's very emotional, and it's been a journey.
Was it therapeutic?
Yes, I just was talking about this. It's funny because I'm a big advocate for therapy, but in therapy, you're talking to someone about your problems, and in writing, and I'm not sure if you can relate to this, in writing, you can actually be reliving things on the page of, even if it's fiction, I write from feelings of places I've been and people that I know. And even if I compile, if I combine them in one character, or that's how I write. So it's almost like I was reliving so much, a love affair, my relationship with my father, my time with William Styron. So it definitely was cathartic, and it took, I was pretty exhausted.
Yeah, I try to, or when I write, I can visualize it. So I write what I'm visualizing, to the point where I talked to somebody the other day. She read the book. She goes, Travis, I just love how you put it, because I can actually read it and close my eyes and I'm doing it. or I'm there.
Me too.
Or
Me
something.
too.
And I like to do that. I like to put a lot of detail in there where I think detail is needed to be able to, for the reader to say, oh, I can see myself doing that, or or I've been
I do
there.
that in I write my novels in the first person, and my second novel that I'm working on right now is in the first person, which is really difficult to do, but I don't, and I'd like to try another way, maybe my next book, but
Mhm.
I have to almost feel the what the characters are feeling, what that protagonist is feeling. So I tap into feelings I've had, or feelings that I've seen others have, and I have felt from that. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I have to do it. And I'd like to experiment another way, but I'm scared.
Don't be scared. So I can read sideways and I see where that says New York City, oh, NYC, and that's the Empire State Building. So tell us
Yeah.
about that. That's pretty slick.
Yeah. So the book came out and it got some great reviews and blah blah blah. And I submitted my book to a couple of different awards, and initially it won a Firebird Book Award in women's fiction, which was really really cool. And then it became a honorable mention in the Hollywood Book Festival, so that was really exciting.
That's pretty
And
nice.
yeah, and then I entered the New York City Big Book Award, which I didn't think at all I had a shot at this, because
Mhm.
the New York City Big Book Award takes books from every book out there, indie authors, university presses,
Mhm.
traditional, the big five publishing houses.
Sure.
So, and I won. I got the notification that I won for women's fiction, and I just was
That's amazing.
I was blown away. I was blown away.
That's amazing. Good for you. So I find that you go out and find these different awards, or competition or whatever. You go out and find them, and put your book, uh, you know, submit your book to them. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and people think I have to be on, like, people who don't know anything about, and why would they? Lay people not in the literary world or any of
Yeah.
this, everyone will say, "Oh my God, how did they find out about you? Like, how did they?" And it's no,
I sent them something.
yes, my own family would say, "God, how did you get this library talk or this book event, or how did you get this restaurant
Yeah.
event?" I'm like, I hustle like no one's coming to me.
Yeah.
I have not only do I have to email once, I have to literally stalk them, hunt them down, and
Oh, I do
circle
too.
back.
I,
Yeah.
I so actually I'm going to a signing of a book event in on next Saturday, the 22nd, in Manassas, Virginia, and I live in Dallas.
Oh,
Uh,
oh
so
wow.
my son lives there, and we were there in April, and I started to finish up my first book. And we went to this beer garden. And you ever been somewhere where you're like, I love this place. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I love. I mean, I felt, of course, drinking beer, whatever. Can't go wrong with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But just the atmosphere, I love this. So I said, I'm going to put this in my book. So I
That's
actually
awesome.
put it in my book where the team goes after a mission to relax.
Oh wow.
And so I got a hold of the folks. Say, hey, I put y'all in my book. I'd like to do a book signing. They were like, love that. Let's do it. So
Yeah,
we're doing it next Saturday in
that's
Virginia.
awesome.
Yeah,
Did you?
everything in my book is a real place.
Yeah, mine is too.
Yeah.
Some have closed, but I have found personally, and I've told a couple of authors this, and I don't like giving away too many of my secrets, but
I'll mute this. Just go ahead and move your mouth, and I'll mute it.
oh, it's fine. It's fine. But I have found that people, the library events, which are so important, but it's so touch and go. Like, I've had nobody show up. I've had a good amount of people show up. It's really,
Right.
you just don't know. But I had a couple of events at different restaurants. They just stuck me in a corner. One gave me a beautiful table, and I set my books up, and I had people come, and the press came to one, and they'd come, and it's almost, the customers are so excited because it's something for them to talk about and do. And it's just been so successful. So, like, to me, restaurants are just a great.
And it's so unusual. You go for a meal, you know you're going to read something.
So anywhere your book takes place, like my book takes place in Martha's Vineyard, and it also takes place on the North Shore of Massachusetts. So, hit them, because wherever your book, and you know what, hit wherever. I just came back from Ireland, I brought books with me and I'm hustling it. I dropped some off at the Irish Writers Center. I went into a bookstore. I said, "Hey, would you want to sell these books?" And I did a little signing there. Anywhere you go, bring your book.
Oh, I just bought a trench coat, and I'm going to put hardcover, soft cover, and open it up.
That's 100% what it is. And then the reviews. I feel like I'm the mafia.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you review my book? Like, you need to review. Please review. Did you? I
know,
swear, I'm
same
like,
way.
I'm shaking people down. I'm like, you need to
Yeah.
review it. Then I keep track of. I'm like, really? That's supposed to be my friend. Then she said, I know she didn't review it. I'm like,
Right.
my family. I'm like, did she review it?
I'll say, well, Facebook, hey, if you guys, because I know pretty much some folks that bought, hey, make sure that you give a review, because those are important, or whether
Oh my
they're on
God.
Amazon or Goodreads or
They're
whatever. They're
everything.
so important, because some people determine what they buy based on a rating, where I typically don't. I just, if it looks good, I'll read it. Because some people like stuff, some people don't.
Well, someone made a good point to me. Well, two things. Amazon, if you get a certain amount of reviews, Amazon will start promoting your book.
Right.
So it's so important. The way to thank an author for their book is to please leave a review. And then the second thing, it was funny because I read something, and then I find this to be true of myself. If someone has completely 5-star ratings or the reviews are just all so good, I almost don't trust it. I'd rather, if a book is a totally 5-star, you almost want it to be like a 4 and change. Like, there has to be some negative reviews, because I don't trust it. I'm like, oh, they're paying people.
Well, I tell you, go out and to verify that, go out and look at some of Dan Brown's books.
Oh,
2% ones in some of them, right? And
really?
he's a great author. Look at some of these other authors. Everybody gets a bad review. Nothing personal.
Oh, everyone. I mean, the best, the classics that have stood the test of time have bad reviews. If a book doesn't have many, a handful of bad reviews, I mean, good God, like, there's something up.
Yeah, and so you are not self-published. You found a publisher.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And
yeah.
Just why did you kind of decide that route?
Well, I exhausted, I think, like a lot of us, I knew that it's very hard to get an agent and get, the whole, in the top publishing houses. But, I think we all write our book, and even though and you send it off, and I send it off to the first like 10 agents, and you really kind of think, well, once they see my book,
right.
It's going to be like nothing they've ever seen before.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't happen often. So I wrote my book. I sent agent, the first 10 no's, I was just gutted. And then it just gets easier. Just keep it up. It's just, and actually some of the feedback that I got, if I got any, was very helpful. And I made, I changed some things.
Right.
I got so many great responses from agents too, where they said they loved the book, and very sincere, but said it's in the market so high concept right now that they didn't know if they could sell it. So I appreciated the honesty, but I knew that I had my book is in alternating timelines, and it wasn't at first. I wrote it linear, and I knew that it would be better in the alternating timeline. I knew it, but I didn't know it till I finished it, which of course,
right,
the hardest way possible. So I after 100 or so rejections, I ripped the book apart and did the alternating timeline, kept sending it out, and great response, but it just wasn't happening. But so in the interim, I sent it to a bunch of publishers too, like medium presses, small presses, all that.
Yeah.
And I had an acquisitions editor that messaged me back and just so got the book. Like, I just really felt a connection with how he felt about the book. And, I went through the whole process of being, then it went to the next editor and the next, and they took it. So I just felt like it found its home. So that's
excellent.
that.
And who do you publish through, if you don't mind saying?
Kohler.
Okay. Yeah. So I did, my book is linear, but in multiple occasions at the same time.
Oh. Interesting.
Uh, oh, did I remember the name of that person?
So
But yeah,
there's different characters in different places at the same
so there'll
time.
be
Okay.
like at the same time, some people are in Russia. There's things going on in DC, and there may
Interesting.
be
Yeah.
things going on somewhere at the same time. So I switch back and forth
Yeah.
location, but
Yeah. That's
and then
difficult
turn
too.
my
That's,
English.
I really, writing just a linear book about like a weekend just seems like a dream to me now. It's just doing the alternating timeline of every chapter of my book starts off with the Georgette, the protagonist's journal entry,
Mhm.
like the date
Right.
and a little. She's a write, she likes to journal, so there's a little quote that she writes, and it kind of lets you in on what's going to happen in the chapter, a little bit what her thoughts are. So that kind of helps the reader keep track. But
Mhm.
readers are fairly, I think for the most part, readers are fairly, I mean, they're really fairly intelligent, and I think sometimes we don't give them enough credit. Like I've seen books right now where they've gotten rid of dialogue quotes, and I
Oh
just
wow.
reviewed. Yeah, and I just
My book would
reviewed.
never work without those. You would know who's
I
talking.
don't think some would, but I
Yeah.
don't think mine would either. There's a lot of inner thought in my book too, but
Yeah.
this book, I actually found it easier to read. It
Mhm.
wasn't as distracting, like it wasn't so
Yeah.
broken up, and
Yeah.
so I think it just depends on the book. But some readers though too, you I don't know, the alternating timeline, how you have it too. Sometimes I think it has to be, you really want to make it clear, but
Mhm.
sometimes I think I don't want to be, you don't want to be too much of showing, telling and not showing, like we're right here.
Right.
They can kind
So
of figure it out.
so what else is got anything else you're stewing on or started on, or what are you
Yeah. So
focused on?
I, God, it was, whoever thought like you'd have to market so much, because I haven't even touched anything in my next book for a month, and it's bothering me so much because I've been just marketing, marketing, marketing.
Mhm.
But I have to, writers write. You have to write.
Mhm.
So I'm NaNoWriMo is coming up in November, so I have to get on it. But I'm about halfway.
Nano Rider, Rhino.
NaNoWriMo. It's like the month of November. It's a contest, and they have it all
Okay.
over the place where you have to write a novel in about a month, or 50,000 words in a month, and then
I
there's
could do that.
contests and all that stuff. It's pretty cool, and it's a goal.
Right.
It's a lot. But my next book, I'm about a little almost halfway through, and I'm just so excited. It's wasn't I wasn't I was writing something else, and something kind of happened on the outskirts of my life that
Mhm.
there was a trial, there was a conviction, it was, and I found it fascinating and tragic, and it was horrible, but the trial was fascinating. It was fascinating. The
Right.
characters were fascinating, and the subject was fascinating. So I just, sorry, I keep saying fascinating. So I I started inspired by this, and I'm trying to do this justice. Like my book, The Silence and the Sound now is, I've had personal experience with this, growing up in addiction and all of what's going on there. This book I
Mhm.
have not. What's it's about, and
Okay.
I'm being cryptic. I know. I apologize, but I'm excited. I'm doing a ton of research. I want to do this justice, and I got to get on
Yeah,
it.
I do a lot of research for my books because I want it to be, mine is like realistic fiction.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I want it to be believable,
yeah, me too.
actually make sense, right? So I do a lot of that research, and uh, but I enjoy it. I mean, sometimes I just get on a roll and I just start writing, and it just kind of flows.
Yeah, I really, I wouldn't say writing is such an art and a craft, and I don't I don't think you can ever really master it. I think it's always you're always learning. And I always say I'm not the best writer, but I'm a great a good or great I've been told, I didn't say it, someone else said it, but I'm a great storyteller. I
Right.
can tap in. I like writing about the human experience. I like writing about humans and the multi layers of them, and I feel like I can really grasp that well.
Mhm.
So with a good editor and good beta readers, I can hopefully nail this book.
Well, good. I mean, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, so I already finished my second one. It's called Cobalt, and the editors or my publisher's looking at it. We'll hopefully start that process here in the next couple of weeks or whatever, out by March or whenever, because I have a library thing I'm doing in April.
What genre is it? What kind of fiction?
It's realistic fiction. It's a espionage, military thriller.
Okay.
Sort of book. But I put humor in it too, right? Because there's humor in everyday life. Everybody doesn't have to be like all bummer all the time.
I do too.
I put humor in it.
Mine is my book and the way I write, being around one of the greatest writers of all time, Mr. Styron. I remember talking about writing one time, and I had the gall to tell him I was writing, or I had written a book, I started a book about a Virginia horse farm.
Let me read that book.
Well, he said, why are you writing about Virginia? Do you know anything about Virginia? And I said, no. And he said, do you know anything about horses? I said, no. And he said, well, why are you writing about this? Write about, the old adage, write about what you know. And I kind of write how I speak a little, or, I'm New England, I'm Boston, I'm snarky, I'm sarcastic, I'm like all these things. There's a real New England voice to my writing.
Right. Oh yeah. I grew up in New York and California, Spain, Arkansas. I've been all the way.
Oh wow.
I don't know if you even have an accent, but I did do some work in Natick, Massachusetts, Boston Scientific, a long time ago.
Oh nice.
I used to go there like every week for about 4 months.
That's interesting. My publisher, what you write, my publisher writes. So they publish a lot of military books, espionage, a lot of military people. Like there's all kinds of books. I'm curious, who's your publisher?
Defiance Press and Publishing.
Oh, okay.
They're out of Houston area, north of Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I never thought I would do it, to be honest with you. No, nor anybody that I know would ever thought I would do it.
Well, I was saying almost every interview I've had, someone, people have said, well, what advice would you give to other writers? And my number one advice is you 100% have to believe in yourself, be disciplined, believe in yourself, because writing is the loneliest journey.
Yes.
Everyone's writing a book, or everyone wants to write a book. There's so many people that just want to write a book. And so when you say to someone, especially your first novel, and I can only speak to that, so I shouldn't say especially, but when you say to someone, I'm writing a book, even my own mother is like, oh, that's nice.
Well, the same thing, my friends. So I already told them, so I had to finish, right?
Oh, so yeah, it motivates you.
And even talking about the marketing. So I was on a podcast a couple weeks ago, and so I created a team in the book, and it's going to have a series in this book in this team. And we're talking. He goes, well, how are you going to market that? And I go, he said, what about branding? I said, So I'm like, darn. So what I did, I went out there and secured a website called teams-texarkana.com.
Oh.
My team is going to have an online presence of their own.
So the team in the book,
yes,
will have their own online presence.
Yes.
What will you do with it, though?
They'll have like their profiles, mission profiles. Yeah. What's the next mission? They can. There's even an email address that I put in the book that people can email that, and it goes to that email address and get replies. So
that's kind of cool. That's different.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I think, what the heck, I buy a website for, pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I like that. Cool. That's different.
Yeah. So
but you have to try so many things. Like you just have to see. And I do believe someone said to me, I think you can get lost in feeling like you have to be everywhere, like you have to be on every social media site, but really do some of you like better than others, or if there's I prefer Instagram. It's easier for me to do. And I can't even get into TikTok. I'm like, oh God, I'm old.
No, I can't do that.
I'm on there and I'm old, and I'd rather go on there and make fun of my husband than talk about them.
Maybe they should have TikTok for seniors.
They should, yeah. You know what that is? No one goes on it. We're napping. We're
Boomer
napping.
talk. They call it boomer talk.
Yeah. No, the social media presence is, and I'll tell you, it's true to get an agent. And I've heard from so many sources,
Yeah.
agents themselves that have said, if you don't have a social media presence, then they're not going to take you if you, because they don't even, it's, it's not 50 years
Yes.
ago where they marketed the hell out of you. You have to market yourself. And if you're not gonna, they're not taking you. So,
No, I agree. So when I had my own company, I had, online presence, but then I, decided not to have one anymore. Now I have to get back into it. And so I'm getting things where I can schedule, tweets and different things where I don't have to do it every day. I can schedule it in advance. Where unless something cool that happens, then I can go out and send a tweet or Facebook, and things like that. So it's all,
no,
and I
that
have a
I
kind
do.
of a marketing background anyways.
I do that too. And then someone said, I had this gal that did a library event with. She's an author too. She said, God, you're everywhere. I'd love to hire you for my book. And I'm like, well, I don't have time for that. But you hire, the only way
Then
you
you
see me
thought,
everywhere.
how much, what are you going to pay me?
Well, yeah, you'd have to pay me a fortune because actually when you go to hire someone, like even my
Yeah.
publicist, they have a separate cost and department that does like social media, and there's tons
Yes.
of people that'll manage your social media. They charge you a fortune to just do like 4 posts a week.
Yes.
I'm a beast on there because it's my book. So if I'm gonna pay someone all this money to do 4 posts a week, it's not going to amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that, like but some people can't do that. But I'm just like, you're not really going to get much traction. Like you have to engage a little, which is, you got to take breaks from it though, because I get like, oh
Oh
god.
yeah. I try not to do anything on the weekends. But the key is market, market, and then market again, right?
Well,
You
you know what,
got to
too,
do
though,
that.
it's your first book. It's my first book.
Yeah.
I feel like even though I'm exhausted, and we're establishing our writing career, we're establishing our author presence.
Right.
So it's a ton of, usually people, it's a ton of work at first, and hopefully then the more, we'll put out another book and it might be a little easier. We already have a good amount of followers. We have some people that have read our first book and all those things. So I'm just it's an investment and everyone else should think of it like that. It's kill yourself, grind, hustle, because it's an investment in your writing career. And if that's what you want.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, yeah. I never would have thunk it. Uh, 6, 8 months, 10 months ago, I said, "You crazy? Have another beer. You're crazy."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so it's great. No, so okay. So tell us about your book, a little bit about your book again, because I want everybody to understand and what it's about, where they can get it, where they can contact you, and one bit of advice, a bullet point, or one bit of advice you can give either a new author or somebody that's been an author but struggling.
So, as I said, my book's a coming of age story inspired by actual events. And to me, the most beautiful setting there is. And
Yeah.
I've heard so many people feel like Martha's Vineyard is a lot of people's, I've heard, dream spot. They're interested by it. They're intrigued by it. And it's honestly one of the most beautiful places ever. And I can't tell you that the magic there. It's just, I fell in love the moment I landed there. And I really worked very hard to try and capture that, because if I didn't, I knew a lot of island folks would be very upset. So
Kick you off the island like Gilligan's Island. They kick you off. So.
I think so, maybe. But yeah, they could be tough. There could be a tough audience, but it's really a journey. It's a young woman's journey of self-discovery. I'm not trying to sound cliche, but it's her cause and effect life of growing up an addiction that's she doesn't even really realize, and a spiraling love affair, friendship, this relationship with this author that is subtle, but he really is her grounding force, which she never really had. So it's really a story about these 3 men in her life that have affected her life greatly, and kind of her relationship with them, and coming out the other side and really figuring out herself. And the ending will surprise you, as she has to make a heart-rending choice with the help of her patient's most famous novel. She does this. So I hope that intrigues you.
Awesome. So where can everybody find you if they want to connect?
So I'm Dianne C. Braley everywhere. 2 N's, Diannec Braley, Braley. Twitter, Instagram. We already discussed this. Goodreads, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. I'm sorry. You probably have seen me, and you're probably sick of me, and I apologize. But you know how you don't get sick of me if you buy my book. You don't get sick
Then
of
take it off the list.
And yes,
until you do a review. Until you do a review,
then I will leave you alone. Otherwise, I'm the Gestapo. I'm going to show up at your door.
So where can everybody find your book at?
Oh, it's on Amazon, all the sellers, Barnes and Noble. It's on all the sellers, and if you can't find it, you can find it there. But you can also just support local. Always, your local bookstore can order it if they're not carrying it. Edgartown Books. It's all on the Vineyard, obviously, and stores in Massachusetts. And I mean, I just saw this morning. I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona Library, so that was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm in Ireland now too. There's a Conley's Books in Ireland.
Now you can go and write it off.
I know. And then I just found out you can write off, because I go to the Vineyard every summer, and I shouldn't talk about all this stuff, but I do a lot of book events. Like this year I did a ton of book events, and I can write the trip off. I'm like, oh my God, I can write the trip off.
As long as it's legal.
And my taxes this year aren't going to be fun, because I have to go through so much. Because honestly, guys, it takes money to make money, and invest in yourself, because it costs.
I will vouch for that.
Yeah. And a piece of advice.
Yeah.
You told me. So I said earlier, believe in yourself, and I can't stress that enough. Please, please believe in yourself. If this is your dream, you have one life. You have one life to live. Do it. And slow and steady wins the race. You are not going to write a first novel in a week, 6 weeks. I don't care what people say. I guess you can, but I have a son, a husband. I don't even think their life became affected, because, why would it? I got up at 5 o'clock every day and made sure I wrote, even if it was a sentence, every single day.
Yeah.
And then lived my life, had to do what I had to do. And before you knew it, a book, some shape, way was formed. And now I really was like, okay, I have something here. And then I have to really crack down. And once I know, for me, once I'm like halfway to the finish line of something, there's no going back. I have to, I've talked about it. And who cares if people don't listen? Talk about it. Say, you know why? Because it's a motivator for you.
Right.
Say you're writing a book, do whatever you need to do, but it's your journny, it's your life. Do it. I'm telling you, just do it. You need to conquer your goals.
I'm an extrovert. So like a lot of authors are introverts. I'm an extrovert. So I will talk to anybody. My wife says, I have never met a stranger. So that's because I grew up in an Air Force family. We're moving every 3 years. You got to make new friends all the time.
Oh, you had to, yeah.
So it's easy. So I can talk
I'm
to myself.
both. Like I'm that like introvert, extrovert, even though I hate that. I can't stand when people like these like trendy terms. I don't know, but I can put myself out there. Like I'm doing so many events, but then I really just get like, I need to rest from talking. And whoever knew, I mean, this is perfect for you, because when you write a book, you don't realize, I mean, I'm doing so much public speaking, which I have anxiety. I suffered from anxiety my whole life, and don't love public speaking. So now all of a sudden I'm in all these talks and libraries. I'm getting emails to like do these other things and talk. And I'm like, and if I collapse, so be it, whatever. But it's my book. I know the book. It's not like I'm giving a lecture like I had to study.
That's why you can do it. I do public speaking. I used to do public speaking and speak at conferences all over the world. And if you are confident in the subject that you're talking about,
yes,
you will not have a problem. If you don't, that's when it becomes problematic. Because people
it gets easier. I get kind of nervous, but then it just gets easier and easier. And I just keep throwing yourself out there. Who cares? I mean, no one cares. You just do the best you can, and it's your book. They don't know. Yeah. They don't know. They're looking to you. So it's hard for some people, and I don't love it, but I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's been great conversation.
Can I just interrupt? Can I just say one
Yes.
thing I forgot?
Yeah,
I
of course.
apologize.
Yes.
So
No, go
part of
ahead.
the proceeds of my book go to the Robert F. Kennedy Community Alliance here in Massachusetts. And they have a division that helps kids affected by addiction, kids and families. And they help almost 1,000 families in Massachusetts. They have a camp. They also have a juvenile justice program nationally. They're amazing organization. We're
Mhm.
also working with the in the name of the book, I've donated a experience. Martha's Vineyard, there's a camp called the Fuel Program, and the kids go out on. There's a restaurant called the Black Dog. There's two tall ships, and they go out
Mhm.
for a week on one of these ships, the Shenandoah, and they learn to sail and are taught all this. It's an experience of a
Oh, that's pretty
lifetime.
cool.
So cool, and we're donating an experience to one of the RFK kids in the name of the book. So just, you're supporting a great cause too, and it's just there's so much funding and there's so much help for people suffering from addiction, and there's not nearly enough, but there's hardly any help for the kids, and these kids have a higher tendency they're have a higher tendency to be addicts themselves or live a life of dysfunction and anxiety, despair, all these things. So,
Mhm.
and helping the kids to me is a huge deal. So, I'd love your support.
No, so you help out Diane, and she's a philanthropist. So author
Yeah.
and philanthropist. So that's awesome. So no, that's been great. And again, folks, go out there and support her charity that she very strongly believes in. And if you know any other authors who want to be on the podcast, please reach back out here to me, to Travis at randomthoughts.llc. But it's been fabulous, and I wish you all the most success. Next time, I want to see some more of those awards in Becky. I want to see like
Oh,
a wreath or
fingers
something.
crossed. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you. We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Author Eke. There'll be another episode next week. Please stop by and start your own story. We can't wait to hear it.